Thank you so much, Terry. Good morning, everybody. Fit? Ready to go? Okay, let's close our eyes and take 5 deep breaths, and then we start, okay? Okay, close our eyes, and 1. Exhale. And inhale. And exhale. 2. And 3. 4. And open your eyes. Thank you so much. Okay, so welcome again. Terry, thanks for the nice introduction. Yeah, my name is Wolfgang. I'm from Switzerland, living above Lake Zurich. That's the German part of Switzerland. And she already mentioned a little bit of my story. I was a pro athlete in my first life until the age of 26, and then I got a quite unpleasant message because I was diagnosed with a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. At the age of 26, it hit me out of nothing. I didn't even feel anything bad. The only thing I felt, it was a little knot here on my hip, and it made me a bit nervous. I went to the doctor. They did an ultrasound, and they sent me straight away to the hospital, and they did the surgery. And what they did, they cut off a tumor the size of a fist, which was growing inside. And yeah, funny thing, I didn't notice anything in advance. It was not painful. I had no performance loss in my sport. So that was quite a weird situation. And then, you know, also my age, I was 26. Usually when you're 26, you're not thinking about disease. So it was a tough time for me, obviously, but also for my whole family. I think my mother suffered more than myself during this time. And they did 2 surgeries on me. The first surgery, they took off the tumor. The second one, they did a quite heavy intervention on me. They cut me off totally from here to here. It's called, in Latin, it's a retroperitoneal lymphotic adectomy. So they cut you off, and then they take off the entire lymph string here from left to right. This was more a precautionary surgery for them to make sure that there was not any metastatic development out of this primary tumor, which was sitting here. And then on top of it, I was given a full stage of chemotherapy, which was also not so pleasant 30 years ago, because they were a little bit more strong than they are nowadays. So they were not so customized and not so fine-tuned. And the whole process took about 6 months. And then I left the hospital. At that time, I lost about 85 pounds. I came home, I looked in the mirror, and I didn't recognize myself anymore. And what was so tough for me was the fact that once, especially as a cancer patient, once you made it through the classical medical routine, they let you go and they leave you alone. There is suddenly no support anymore. There is suddenly nothing you can hang on to anymore. The only thing is hope, pray. And there's another thing which I immediately realized. I needed to become proactive in any way possible, just to do good for my own psychic, and also, you know, to just have the daily feeling that me personally, I can act in order to prevent myself from another cancer attack, which I believe nowadays it was crucial for my recovery, and not only for my physical recovery, but also for my mental and spiritual recovery, because it helped me so much. I had something to hold on. So how can you become proactive when you are a cancer patient and you are through the routines? Well, there was one important point missing, and that's answering the question, what can I do? In order to answer this question, you need to start educating yourself. That's crucial, you know, because I remember I left the hospital, and obviously the word was spreading already that Wolfgang has cancer. So everybody was jumping on me and telling me what not to eat, what to drink, whom I should see, which doctor, in which country, which city, which continent. So I got bombarded with everything in a good meaning. Don't get me wrong, but how can you determine what's good for you if you have no education? I think that's a huge problem. Everybody means well, but in the same time, well, what about this Mexican tea which grows in the near of Tijuana, where the Navajo is playing the flute in front of the tree and gives a nice spirit and frequency? Is that good for me? I don't know, because I don't have education. Or the water from this nice mountain in Switzerland, which travels down from about 10,000, 20,000 feet, and takes all the minerals. How do I know if it's good for me? I don't know, you know. And so I was bombarded with a lot of things, and I figured out I need to start educating myself. And so I went on a journey after that. I had time. I was not working. I couldn't do my sport because I was physically not capable of doing that. And 30 years ago, it was pretty tough to get education because anti-Google was not invented. Nowadays, it's easy. We can do everything from the comfort of our homes. Just Google it. And most of the people, they even believe what Google tells you, which is quite disturbing. Exactly. That would be another seminar for a whole day. Just a quick sentence to this. Google is not a specialist. Google is a search engine. So Google provides hits on search terms and prompts you type in. That's all. So Google is quite dumb when it comes to content of information. They are quite clever in displaying information and making money with it. Quite clever. So sometimes the answer on your Google search is not on page 1, but on page 167. Amen. Good luck. So that's it. But 30 years ago, you needed to go to health fairs. You need to visit lectures. There were still personal encounters, you know, between people. Not now, like nowadays we have Zoom, we have all these nice gadgets, and we don't need to go out anymore, which is also quite awful. We experienced that during the last 3 years. That's all I'm talking about, the last 3 years. But you know what I mean, right? So human beings are social creatures. So I'm happy to be back in real life, to stand in front of you and to share hopefully good stuff with you, because that's what makes us humans at the end. And yeah, so during this journey, I was invited to a lecture in Austria, and there was a guy, and he spoke about energy medicine, and in particular about pulsed electromagnetic fields. Because at that time, that was about 30 years ago, the first units for home use appeared on the market. So those are, you know, characteristically those units we see nowadays, containing of a control unit of one or the other applicator for the whole body, for specific areas, for spots whatsoever. They started to be marketed about 30 years ago in Europe. And my biggest problem was, because of the chemotherapy and the surgeries, I started suffering from insomnia. I couldn't sleep anymore, which is quite a nice combination. You already lose 85 pounds. And then you cannot sleep during the night. I had weeks of sleeping not more than 1 hour per night. And you can probably imagine what that does with you. Probably if I would be not 26, but maybe 62 or 82, I would not survive it. But that bothers really when you want to sleep and you cannot. And the guy was doing the lecture about PEMF, and he mentioned that the prototype was also called the sleeping machine, because one of the first beneficial effects which were figured out during the time of development was that if you expose a human being to a certain pulsed electromagnetic field exposure, that they start falling asleep. And that hit me, because that was exactly what I was looking for. A technology which I can perform in the comfort of my home, so I don't need to show any efforts to go somewhere. I can do it whenever I want, how many times I want, because I have it at home. And I bought one of these units. And he told me, you should use it 2, maximum 3 times per day, 8 minutes each, in the morning, after lunch, and in the evening. So I did that. After 2 weeks, you know what happened to me? Absolutely nothing. There was no progress. I couldn't sleep, you know. So I called this guy, and I asked him friendly to take back the unit and to send me my money back. Which was a lot of money at that time, you know. If I calculate in the inflation right now, the unit was by far more expensive 30 years ago than it is nowadays. However, he was not so amused about that. So he was starting, you know, discussing. We had a phone call, and he said a quite remarkable sentence, and because he said, if you would like to achieve something with energy medicine, then you have to understand that energy is regulating. It's a regulation approach, a regulating approach, and not like a aspirin or a ibuprofen, which inhibits a certain chemical process, but only for a certain amount of time. And so do most of the medications working on a chemical basis. They inhibit something, or they strengthen a chemical effect whatsoever. But they do not regulate. The big advantage of regulation is that regulation brings a state back to a normal situation. So I got it, and he told me, you already used this unit for 2 weeks, so none of the applications you done were for nothing, because you're already on your journey. It just takes a little while until it kicks in. Let it regulate. It's regulating. It already works. You just don't feel the outcome of it. So I did, and it was close to 4 weeks. And then I had my first night sleeping through like a baby for 12, 13 hours. And the cool thing was, I woke up and I felt that my body is capable of regenerating. You know this feeling after months, when you wake up and feel, wow, cool, I can still talk to my body. The body is still responding with a positive reaction, which gave me the faith and the motivation now to keep on doing what I'm doing. And obviously I improved on a daily basis. I did nothing else except keeping a good diet. I was, but not in terms of that I was a vegan or a vegetarian or whatsoever. In my life, everything was always about moderation. And this is how I adjusted my diet. The only thing I'm really fond of is always get the best quality when it comes to food, liquid and solid. So we don't look on the money when it comes about groceries. And we have in Switzerland, we have good sources of good food. And we also still cook at home every day when we are in the office. Not big meals, just healthy stuff, but we cook it fresh. First of all, we always have a nice chat on our lunch table, Veronica and myself, because we work together. Veronica is obviously the boss. And without her, I would not be here, obviously. She's also has control over the finances. So I think that's all I need to mention hereby. But I love her from the bottom of my heart. And we are together since 10 years, 24/7. And I'm still alive. Can you imagine that? That's pretty cool, you know. So yes. Yeah, I deserve that applause. Okay, let's get back to reality now. I was so intrigued and so fascinated about what happened to me, specifically because I figured out that you utilize something, and while you do an application, you don't even feel anything. You know, that's disturbing, right? I mean, a good painkiller has to, when you swallow it, it has to, you know, you have to, exactly, you have to feel something. You know, an injection has to create pain, otherwise it's not an injection. And now I'm exposed to something which I'm not even able to feel something, which costs a lot of money, and which I'm not sure if this thing works or not. Because when you turn it on, nothing changes. You know, you don't get a bump from the system says, okay, I'm ready, you know, I'm working. There is no heat, there is no sensation at all, which is not 100% true, because a lot of people feel something when they get exposed to pulsed electromagnetic fields, but they cannot describe what it is. It's just like, I feel something, but I cannot track it to a certain sensation. But that's the problem with energy, and in the same time, that's also the advantage of energy. Because if you apply energy medicine to yourself, most of the time it creates a beneficial effect without hurting you, without harming you, and in the same time without making you even notice that something is happening. Which is sometimes weird, and because we are not educated in that way. For us, if something needs to work, there has to be some action, which we can somehow experience with one of our senses, whether we hear it, whether we see it, whether we smell it. Yeah, and if this is not there, we doubt. But I can tell you, energy is, no matter where it's coming from, it's very powerful, but it doesn't communicate with our existing senses. We have other creatures on this planet, for example, the animals. They're much more sensitive, so they feel much more than us. And that's why they also respond nicer and quicker and with visible reactions to energy. But yeah, we need to always be convinced. Show me the study. Does this work? You know, Terry mentioned 2,800 lectures, maybe already more than 3,000 in the meantime. But I remember my first lectures, you know, you lecture about 1 hour, you gave it everything, and then the killer question comes, who is using that already? Why it's not used in the medical field? So people associate with, if somebody doesn't use anything, or if it's not proven by classical medicine, then it will not work. You know, I learned something different. The only therapy that works for you is the one you do. This is what I learned. So if you are not convinced because I cannot provide you with a study, let's do a test. I print out the study and I ask you to lie on this study for 8 minutes. And then you tell me if you improve or not. Because you cannot read the study anyway. Because it's double-blind, placebo-controlled. You know, what is that? So you're not even capable, but that's how we are as human beings. We need to be convinced, and frankly speaking, that's so wrong. You know, if you want to make sure that something is working for you, you have to do it, because otherwise you will not find it out. And sometimes it always comes with a risk. You know? But I also learned the risk of not doing it is always higher comparing to the risk of doing it, specifically when you try something which you know in advance cannot harm you. Then it's always worth a try. And why is the medical field not aware of this? Because they don't get educated in the universities about energy medicine. That's as simple as it is. You know, it's not that they don't like it, but energy medicine is not part of the classical medical education in university. And that's why always one question I have in mind, ask your cardiologist why there is no heart cancer in the world. Interesting. The heart does not develop malignant tissue, with a few exceptions when there is a genetic defect. But this is out of scope. But in general, the heart doesn't do that. Do you know why? Because the heart has energy. The heart is so clever, it even creates its own energy. You know, and it maintains it. And it's very serious while doing that, because the heart realizes I'm the most important organ of the entire system. And if I'm not working anymore, my owner will not work anymore. So let's getting equipped with the best security levels that we have. And the highest security level is energy. And the heart cell works on such a high level constantly, 24/7, during the entire lifetime, that it doesn't even have time to think about something different. For example, to decide, I grow how I want. You know, I don't like that. I quit here and do my own thing, which is more or less what cancer is. You know, cancer is, in layman terms, is a cell that decides to do something totally different from what it should do. So this is the reason why the medical world, the classical medical world, is not so much into energy medicine, because they don't understand it. And not because it doesn't work. I collected about 2,500 clinical studies about PEMF, low frequency, low intensity. That's a lot. That's even more than about aspirin. So don't tell me that there is no interest in the scientific field to do research with energy medicine. And energy medicine will be the medicine of the future, because the direction classical medicine is going right now, it's directly to the wall, you know? And it just became a big business. And the main target right now is not to create healthy patients, it's to keep the people sick. Because as long as they are sick, you can make money with them. You cannot make money with healthy people, and you cannot make money with dead people. The funeral is the last invoice. And then it's done. No prescription anymore. So we have a society, doesn't matter which country, which nationality, which language, they have all the same problem. We have 70% of the population suffering from chronic illnesses. And a chronic illness it's not death sentence. A chronic illness means that you're not good, but you're also not bad enough that you pass away. This is exactly what chronic means. And you know, right now people get maintained within that level, sometimes a little bit better when it comes to symptoms, sometimes a little bit worse. But frankly speaking, they have more or less never the chance to become 100% healthy anymore. And over time, because of the way we approach medicine hereby, by giving another medication for the side effect which was caused by the other medication, and so on, we have more and more people, they take 15, creates a quite toxic environment inside us, which leads to deterioration and which leads to additional functional diseases, additional chronic problems. And this is what we face right now. And the forecast doesn't look so nice. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Yes, it's true, we become older. Questions after the lecture, please. Okay. Yeah, I'm not allowed to say that, but thank you for it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can say it like this as well, yes. But what's the point is that there has to be a wake-up call, really. Because beside the fact that we ruin people's lives, we also, the system cannot afford itself anymore. So at the end, we are going to pay for this anyway. And that's why my opinion is we have to take over responsibility. And this is actually what you are doing, because otherwise you would not sit here on a Saturday morning. You know, that tells me that you are interested in your health, that you are looking for solutions to make you feel better, that you are looking for solutions to not becoming ill at all, which is quite the correct approach, prevention. And to what I did, to gather and to collect education, which makes it easier for you to make decisions for you. And that's what I did. And about 30 years ago, my decision was, I'm not even just acknowledge that this technology helped me to recover. I went a step further and I made a business out of it, because the unit I bought was looking horribly. You know, you cannot market that. It was a square-looking box with a, it was just disgusting how it looked. And I said, I think I can do better. And this is how I started this company 29 years ago. And here we are. I started in Europe. We went to North America in 2005, starting in Canada. 1 year later, 2006, we went to the US. At that time, nobody knew about PEMF. I did lectures all over the country, and we were the ones introducing this technology for home use to you guys here in the US. Obviously, my first certification course I ever did, 2006, was in South California. It was in Ramona on a horse ranch. I remember that, you know. The lady had not only horses, she had zebras. And because we also do pulsed electromagnetic field technology for horses. They don't ask for studies, by the way. They are cleverer. You know, they just take it. They just give you thumbs up. So, yeah, here we are. The IMRS Prime, what we have with us today, and the Omni One are the newest generations of our products. We have about 2 million customers worldwide over the years. Definitely collect a lot of feedback from those customers. And yeah, I'm 56 now. I celebrated this year 30 years of being cancer-free, my 30th anniversary. And yeah, so I never was in the hospital again. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, from my wife. Thank you. And so let's look a little bit in this, because what I figured out over the last couple of years, more and more of these PEMF units appear on the market, obviously. So there is a competition going on. And, you know, everybody from these competitors, they make it always sound and look so easy and so simple. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, because I developed these technologies on my own, I know the physical background, I know the electronic background, that it is very complex and not so simple to create PEMF devices which do good and which do not harm. And comparing to the lectures I did always during the last years, I want to introduce PEMF to you in a little more different way, because I think you deserve to know, when you do your own research about PEMF devices or about this technology, that at least I provide you with some basic education so that you know for what you have to look when it comes to make a decision. Is this PEMF device a real PEMF device, or is it a scam, or does it even harm? You know, the problem here is the PEMF market is not regulated. And even we are FDA registered with our devices. By the way, last week we had a 4-day FDA audit in our facility in Switzerland. They came to us. So we are probably the first FDA inspected PEMF manufacturer in the world, because I not know of one case. And I was quite surprised that they came all the way from the US to Switzerland to audit us. And it was not it was a tough audit, I tell you, because most people don't know that every manufacturer of a device which even goes in a medical direction has to be, how to say, the company has to provide a quality management system according to the FDA norm. For your information, which is 21 CFR 820. You can Google that. 21 CFR 820. And if you don't comply with this norm, you're not allowed to legally market such a device. You know, that's fact. And I can tell you, I'm not aware of one PEMF company, maybe one with us, who can provide such a QM system. All the others are illegal. And of course you can say, I don't care, because, you know, I want to save some money, I may benefit from it, but be careful, because those units, they may harm you. And they don't do good for you. And this is what I want to share with you in the morning session, that you will understand a little bit what's behind all that, and how you can trigger these things, and how you become more comfortable when using a PEMF system, and understanding that it's quite complex. It's very easy to use, but it's very complex to manufacture and to design and to engineer it. So let's do that. Yeah, that's the summary of what I just told you. When you do research about PEMF, you will find a very chaotic stochastic matrix of unverified claims. Because when you go to Google, usually the first page, you get 5 companies. They pay a lot of money. They bet on your search term, which you put in. And they will tell you everything nice about PEMF. Whatever you suffer from, you will find the quick fix there. And I want to tell you something. PEMF technology was never ever designed to treat a particular disease. Forget about that. Because energy medicine does not do that. Energy medicine is always, except there are some exceptions, for example ultrasound, but ultrasound is mostly used for diagnostic purpose. So I have a quite specific intent of use, to create a picture and to find something inside your body which could give you a hint what's going wrong. It's ultrasound. There is another application out of energy medicine which is quite common. That's MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. they also create an electromagnetic field, by the way, with a very, very high intensity, about 100,000 times stronger than what we expose coming out of our systems. And they have a quite designated intent of use, because they create pictures from inside of your body, from the inside of your body. But it's also diagnostic. And there is maybe one more quite new technology, which is called RTMS, repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. This is a handheld device which also creates a very high intensity and a very high frequency, and it will be targeted to your head to treat depression. By the way, I heard we have also at least one Parkinson patient in the audience. There are very, very good results of RTMS with Parkinson patients in terms of lowering the tremor, making the Parkinson patients more calm, and also get them more mobile again, so that they can do more on their own. My father was suffering 17 years from Parkinson. Horrible to see somebody literally deteriorate in front of you. But like I said, so there are some specific treatments where pulsed electromagnetic fields of a certain frequency or a certain intensity are involved. But it has nothing to do with what we are doing here, because we work with low pulsed and low frequency pulsed electromagnetic fields, that in the meaning of very low intensity, very gentle approach, and we only apply frequencies which the body already is fond of. So that's frequencies which you can find in the natural environment around you. I will show you later on which frequencies these are. And don't get me wrong, but our body, we learned already that the heart has its own frequency and its own electromagnetic power. But not only that, I mean, the neurons, when you start thinking, you know, when you think about something, complex things, then we use the word our neurons are firing. This firing is nothing else than electricity. So we have energy inside us, and we work with this energy, and we utilize this energy. We can even display this energy from our brain using EEG, electroencephalography. You can make a picture of your brain, of the electric stimulation of your brain, and you can even determine which brain waves, which frequencies you are vibrating right now when you do an EEG. Maybe you heard about the alpha state, the beta, the delta, the theta. Interestingly, always depending on which brain waves are prevailing, they have a direct impact on your mental state. So when you have a lot of delta and theta, you are tired, you're probably already sleeping, or you are even dreaming. It's a very low frequencies. Comparing to alpha and beta states means you are mostly, when those brainwave frequencies prevail, you are mostly awake, alert, concentrated, like now. We have a lot of alpha and beta. Usually you're gonna lose all the alpha and beta after lunch. So the lecture after lunch is the worst of all because everybody's like, but you can also utilize this idea and this education and this knowledge we collected over time, because you can force the brain to change the mental state. This is quite interesting. So after lunch break, we do an EEG of everybody of you. You have prevailing delta and theta for sure, because you are, you know, your body needs the energy to digest all that. And so in order to bring you in an alpha beta state, we can do this. we have a technology built in our systems. It's called AVE, audiovisual entrainment, brainwave entrainment. You know, we apply flickering light, we apply different colors, we apply even tones, binaural beats with a certain frequency in order to sing the song to your brain. And when you do this over a period of time, couple minutes, the brain starts synchronizing with it and changing its entire tune towards the direction you would like to do it. This is pretty cool. And I think we hear a testimonial today with brainwave entrainment still later on. Just to give you an idea. If you research about PEMF, nothing is validated. Because if you get search results from Google, where does the content come from? It's from the people who put the content on the web. Right? And not the Brockhaus, the encyclopedia, whatsoever. No, it's from us. And depending on where Google decides to grab this information and to display it to you, this information is totally wrong. It might be a little right, but it's never validated and verified. So think about this. Whenever you do search, you won't get always, maybe you get the answer you would like to hear, but this is not the correct answer in terms of knowledge and science. So, what you really do is you gather your information, Google search, social media, corporate websites, referrals. This is how you collect education, which is fair because those are the options you have. There's a new option, it's called artificial intelligence. Maybe you heard about that, or maybe you utilize it already, ChatGPT, which I get always emails from our reps. Shall I use ChatGPT because it can even make protocols for me for PEMF devices? I would generally say no, you can't, because also the information you gather from artificial intelligence is not validated. It's not verified, and it doesn't apply for every single a product out there utilizing the same basic technology. No, it's not. So I did a test. I asked artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, a very simple question. The advantage of AI comparing to Google is you can ask questions, and AI answers you comprehensively. And this is what I ask. I ask, what do you know about PEMF? And the answer I get, within 30 seconds, it was writing the answer. PEMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. It is a non-invasive medical treatment that uses electromagnetic fields to improve the health of cells in the body. PEMF therapy works by delivering low-frequency electromagnetic waves to the body, which can help to stimulate cells and promote healing. The therapy is believed to work by improving circulation, reducing inflammation, and enhancing cellular metabolism. PEMF therapy has been used to treat a variety of health conditions, including chronic pain, arthritis, depression, and sleep disorders. The therapy is often used as a complementary treatment alongside traditional medical treatments, such as medication and physical therapy. PEMF therapy can be delivered through various devices, including mats, pads, and handheld devices. The therapy is generally safe, but it may not be suitable for everyone, particularly those who have implanted medical devices or who are pregnant. As with any medical treatment, it's important to talk to a healthcare professional before trying PEMF therapy. Even ChatGPT uses disclaimers at the end. So that's quite funny, you know? So with this answer, that's quite comprehensive, right? And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, nothing is wrong what's there. So there is no wrong information. But it's not even scratching the surface of what PEMF means when it comes to what's coming out of these devices, how they really work, etc., etc. But, to my opinion, 10 times better than Google search. Because at least you receive an explanation. But that's all. So I could say now, I wish you a nice weekend, because thanks for coming and enjoy the rest of your day, because now you know more or less everything on the surface about PEMF. But obviously this is not what we're gonna do. We dig a little bit deeper today. And I mentioned to you, because this is something I really hate about this market, this PEMF market. Sorry to use this word, it's not my intention to speak about hate. But in this case, I really do, because 90% of all PEMF manufacturers, they do not disclose their technical specification, and that's wrong. Because if you have or manufacture a certified medical device, you are obliged to do this, because it has an impact on safety, on patient safety, and it also has an impact on patient efficiency. So does the unit do what it should do? And does the unit do it correctly? In the meaning that if you use a PEMF device in the comfort of your home, that it first of all does not harm you. This is rule number one before we even talk about efficiency. But the thing number one is it should not harm you. And I can faithfully tell you also from the bottom of my heart, when you use a Swiss Bionic PEMF device, it can never hurt you. This is 100%, you know, this is approved by myself, this message. Because we run through such extensive testing, which is normal for medical devices. You know, risk analysis. We have specifically certified parts inside our system which are only designed for patient safety. For example, the power plug. The power plug we are using, power plugs we are using have a medical certificate. You will not, it cannot happen that you get bursts, electric bursts, when you use this system. I will not approve this for all the others, because I analyzed 10 of them. I don't want to put names up here, because that's not my, I don't want to discredit specific names. But you can more or less name whatever you want, they're all in the same category. Most of them, they don't even have a built-in frequency generator. And later on, when I tell you about the properties a PEMF should contain of, you will understand what I'm talking about. Because, in other words, most of the units, you know what they do? They take the dirty electricity from the wall when you plug them in, and they transfer it to your body. This is what all these 10 units I looked up do. They just they don't even filter the dirty electricity, which is the worst of the worst. You know, and that's also the reason why they do not disclose their technical specification, because if they would do it, we would catch them right away. You know, I was sending emails to 5 of the 10, because for the other 5 I didn't even have an email address, a valid email address. You know, and ask them friendly for specifications. What kind of waveforms do you use? What kind of frequency do you use? Do you use double MOOP safety power plugs in order to create safety for the patient when you use it? The answer was always the same. Sorry, we cannot disclose this information because this is our corporate policy and property protection. That's wrong. That doesn't. This doesn't work in the medical field. You are obliged to publish what you do. And if you don't do this, you are not considered safe. And you are hiding something. You know, Swiss Bionic never did that. It's crystal clear what we are doing. We publish everything. We even publish what kind of waveforms we use, what kind of frequencies we use, because it's okay to do this. Because at the end, energy medicine and pulsed electromagnetic field is applied physics. It's nothing else. It's not a miracle. And you don't even have to believe in it when you use it. It will work anyway. Because it's applied physics. But this is not right. And I just ask you to really help us as a very faithful manufacturer of medical devices who never had to report an MDR to the FDA over 30 years, which is quite astonishing. You know, to help us to get these companies who are misleading and hurting people off the market. Because this is not right. Because you deal with, mostly with very, very ill people. And the reason why they are considering utilizing PEMF technology is because they have hope and faith in that. And if you make business with that, then it is not right anymore. My opinion, you know. I'm not a salesperson. I never did a sales pitch in my 3,000 lectures. The only thing I always try to do is to educate you in the best way possible so that you can make the decision on your own and make the right decision. And I think this is the way to go. So, okay, PEMF is applied physics for health benefiting effects. Crystal clear. Everything is specified and the specifications are on the table. So if you hide the specifications, you are not doing kosher business. Period. So what are the parameters we have to look at in order to determine whether a PEMF device might be health beneficial and at the same time safe or not? Well, here are the parameters. First of all, it's the waveform or signal shape. I will explain in a minute what it means. Second one is the field strength. It's also the intensity of the field, the volume. And then we have the frequency. Frequency is the content of the information. Your favorite radio station, 104, 101.5, 104.6, 96.5. That's the frequency. That's the content of the information. Again, the intensity is the volume of the content information. Does it make sense? What happens with the frequency whenever I change the volume? What happens with the content information when I change the volume? It stays the same. Thank you. Something to remember. Don't never mix up intensity and frequency. Frequency is the content of the information. Intensity is the volume of the content of the information. And if you change the intensity, you do not change the frequency. You just make it a little bit more noisy, the frequency. Or you calm it a little bit down, but the content you don't change. And this is very important to remember and to understand whenever you apply energy medicine, whatever energy that is. You know? Make sense? Got it? You promise me that you will always remember that? Because so many people mix that up, really. That's why I always go very deep in that. You know? And then we have these nice words, resonance and coherence. What is resonance? Well, resonance is quite simple. Resonance is the ability of a receiver to react on the content of the information of a sender. Does it make sense? So I'm speaking to you. I assume you resonate because you understand what I'm telling you. And then I hope and I assume that will create a reaction inside you. Whatever this is. The more pleasant my information, probably the more pleasant your resonance effect and the more pleasant your reaction on that. This is the idea of energy medicine, is to apply content of information with a certain intensity from the sender to the receiver, and the idea is that the receiver should understand this information and should take it over into action. Got it? Yeah. So, and you can do this with any kind of energy. Wenn ich jetzt zum Beispiel Deutsch sprechen anfange, dann haben wir alle ein Problem. Ich kann zwar sprechen, ich höre mich selber, ich verstehe mich, aber bei euch ist es vorbei. Ja, ja. Guten Tag. Kindergarten. So what I did now, I changed the frequency from English to German. And suddenly there is no resonance anymore. Right? And I could even ramp up the volume. That would not make a difference. Yeah, and this is also energy medicine. You have to consider this. You know, if you apply information which cannot be understood by the receiver, you lost already. You can come up with intensity as much as you want. You will not create anything. It could even go really worse, because you could even start harming. But first of all, you don't create a beneficial effect. So in order to create beneficial effects, health beneficial effects with energy medicine, make sure that the frequency is within a range your receiver understands it. In this case, the human body. Otherwise, no chance. And this is what we call resonance. And then the last one is coherence. What is coherence? Well, I put it in here. The situation when the parts of something fit together in a natural or reasonable way. So that means energy medicine is in fact a symphony of certain instruments put together in a natural or reasonable way, so that when you put all these properties together, that they create these packages which at the end make these beneficial effects. This is coherence. And those 5 parameters, if they do not align, forget it. You will not be able to create a beneficial effect with energy medicine, and not with pulsed electromagnetic fields. This is how simple it is, and this is in the same time how complex it is to get all this together in the right way. So let's talk about the waveforms. The waveforms are very crucial. The waveform is nothing else, it's the carrier, how you transport the information from the sender to the receiver. In our case, from the control unit over the applicator to your body. This is the waveform. And why it's so crucial? It's because, what do you think? You have about 70 to 100 trillion cells in your body. That's more or less the amount, depending on size, weight, but between 70 and 100 trillion. And that's a lot, right? and each one of these building blocks, these cells, is very intelligent. You know, because they decide about life and death. They decide about health and disease. Whenever they do something weird and the body is not capable of correcting that, we have a problem. So what I want to share with you is that every disease, every health starts and ends with your smallest building block, which is your cell, the heart cell, the hair cell, the skin cell, whatsoever. And every cell in our body has a defined amount of life cycles during its existence, depending on your genetic situation, depending on what you eat, what you drink, depending on how much you exercise. Those life cycles are shorter or longer. And this process is called aging. Aging is nothing else than every cell in your body has a defined lifetime. And during that lifetime, it has a very defined amount of how many times it is capable of replicating itself until it finally dies. So, in order to postpone this, you have to make sure that you take care of every life cycle of this cell in the best possible way. Yeah, and this is the first thing we don't do anymore. Because taking care of a cell means giving always the best nutrition, giving always the most healthy water, giving always the best exercise. You know, this is where we're lacking already, because we don't do that. Because we eat the most unhealthy food. But by the way, we do all this. Do you know why we do this? Why are we doing this? Why we eat that unhealthy stuff? Exactly. It's only convenience. We even know nowadays that it's not healthy for us, right? But we still do it. Tasty, tasty. Tasty is very subjective. It's what is tasty, you know? But do you know what I mean? We do this even while knowing that it's not good for us, because it's convenient, because we can, you know. And the only idea of getting rid of this, it can only be done with a certain behavior, and this is what I call self-discipline. If you don't have self-discipline, you cannot leave that pathway, because it's convenient. Convenience is good. I don't have to do that. I can sit at home. I can order my food online. I don't have to cook. You know, and just remember, all this goes into the life cycle of each cell. Right away, spot on, you know. And whenever you do this, you know, these people, they retire with 65, and then after 6 months, they deserve a heart attack. Because they worked so hard over 45 years to finally deserve it. You know, the problem with our body is when you do something wrong, you have to do this very consistently. Can we turn off this phone, please? Would be nice. Just, it's not healthy, by the way. You see, no resonance. When you have disturbing frequencies, you start not resonating, and then it's not, you don't feel so comfortable. But what did I say now? I lost myself. You see? Aging. We are still with aging. Okay. Yeah, yeah. This is not, it's not coming from nothing. You know, you have to do things wrong on a consistent basis over a long period of time. And then eventually a negative incident will show up. Because our body is capable of compensating so much. You know, and we deal with this, and we know about that. And the only reason why we're still doing it is because maybe we cannot develop the amount of self-discipline which would be necessary to just eliminate it, because it's possible. And I don't mean that your life should be disciplined 24/7, but what I learned, when you at the beginning, when you want to change something, it's always hard at the beginning to change something. If you do it over a certain period of time and you feel and see the benefit, it becomes natural. It becomes part of your daily routine, you know, and then it's just normal, like brushing our teeth. It's normal. We do that even if we have no time. But we still do it 1, 2, 3 times per day, depending on how convenient we are, you know? But we do it because we know if we don't do it, we will have a problem over time. And, you know, anti-aging has nothing to do with eating pills with lots of vitamins, where 90% you cannot even absorb because you eat it and you give it away. Anti-aging is changing fundamental things in your daily routine towards good. And the most fundamental thing you can do is diet, because this is what you do on a daily basis. We eat on a daily basis, we drink on a daily basis. So if you change your diet, whatever it is, you know, I'm not talking about vegan is good, vegetarians are good. You know, it's about our philosophy is moderation, but our philosophy is moderation with high quality. And nowadays, high quality means that you get food sources which are not overloaded with hormones already and all that kind of stuff. But you have to find it out yourself. And like the gentleman said, it still has to be tasty, because food is not only providing a fuel for your body, it's also it's a social thing. You know, it has to be fun, it has to be good, it has to be tasty, it has to be positive. But there is always a way to find this all together if you develop the necessary amount of self-discipline to do that. Bottom line is, at the end, you are responsible about your aging or your anti-aging, and not the doctor, and not the pills, and not the vitamins, you know? And think about this. It takes efforts at the beginning, but it will definitely pay off, you know, definitely. And so coming back to these waveforms is, you know, you have several possibilities how you can introduce pulsed electromagnetic field technology from the applicator to your body. And you do this with certain waves you can see here. By the way, this is the most simple waveform which you can find in physics, which is called a sine wave or a sinusoidal wave. You know, the sinusoidal wave transports information one frequency at a time. This is the most simple waveform, because it can be even created without a frequency generator. And believe it or not, 98% of all units out there, PEMF units, they work with sinusoidal waves because they don't have built-in frequency generators. So what's the negative thing about sinusoidal waves is it would take forever to transport all the necessary frequencies to the body so that I create a resonance effect on each of your 70 trillion cells. So in other words, you would have to lie on such a unit for weeks or even months in order to get all the frequencies your body is capable of resonating with it. So it's outdated. It's just not state of the art anymore. Those were the first units. They appeared on the market in the 80s, in the 90s, because they couldn't do better, because they didn't have the engineering knowledge about frequency generators, etc. So, and yet, still 98% of all these units, they work only with sine wave. This is not what we understand high-tech PEMF technology. And then the next one, which is quite sophisticated, it's the so-called square wave. You know, in order to produce a square wave, you need a frequency generator. You need an intelligence built in your system in order to transform the dirty electricity coming out of the wall into something clean. And a square wave has a very, very quick rise time, then it has a very long peak, and it has a very, very quick fall time. And these sharp rise and fall times, they are very, very crucial for a good PEMF device, because they create a physical force which we need to attract our cellular structure. And this is called induction. Induction. You know induction from the kitchen. Yeah, you know, when you put food in a pan or whatsoever, and you put it on your induction oven, and it heats up very quickly. And the reason why it's doing that, because the magnetic field coming out of the induction oven has a waveform with a very fast, sharp, a very sharp rise and a very sharp fall time. And that creates induction. That creates this interacting effect with the food. And then it becomes hot very quickly. So we from Swiss Bionic, for example, we use a square wave, but only for the local applicators, for the small applicators, like the PET or the spot. Because we know from science that using a square wave, there's a very interesting study which was done by the NASA. They figured out that square wave, they have an effect on human bodies because they promote the output of endorphins. And endorphins, we know that, they are responsible for controlling our pain. So in other words, if you use PEMF with a local applicator on certain parts of your body, you will, from Swiss Bionic, you will get a square wave. And beside the fact that it increases your microblood circulation where you put it, and it also enhances the cellular membrane potential of each cell there. In addition, it promotes the output of endorphins, which creates pain relief without any side effect. This is cool, really cool stuff. And only 1% of the units on the market, they use this. I know personally only one other system together with ours which are using the square wave. But they use the square wave for all applicators. So also for the whole body applicator. And when it comes to a holistic application with PEMF, then we are alone on the market because we are the only company using a triple sawtooth wave. Why do we do that? Because, first of all, a sawtooth wave is again a physical waveform. So you can read about this. It's published. It's nothing, there's nothing hidden. And it's not a GMO patented signal. It's a physical waveform. You know? And the property of a of a sawtooth waveform is it always creates automatically even and uneven harmonics. You know, together with its carrier frequency. So, for example, I create 1 hertz, you automatically get 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. You get the even and uneven harmonics, always in relation to its carrier frequency. In other words, with this kind of waveform, we are capable of transporting a lot of frequencies from the sender to the receiver in a very short period of time, versus the sine wave, which takes forever. And that's why if you are exposed to a PEMF device from us for about 8 minutes, you receive every 2 minutes the entire frequency spectrum which you need to resonate with your 70 to 100 trillion cells. That's the myth behind it. And it's not a myth, it's science. And we really mastered this signal. We made out of a single sawtooth a triple sawtooth. And this is high-end engineering. This requires really good engineers. And this also requires very, very high-tech equipment. It requires a frequency generator, which is capable of even developing such a waveform. And this is what a PEMF unit makes a real high-class, state-of-the-art PEMF unit. And you can be sure that you receive the maximum what PEMF can provide in order to create the best benefit, the highest efficiency. And in the same time, you get this with 100% patient safety. It does not harm you. You can lie on this whole body mat the whole day, the whole week. It will not harm you. it's just a waste of time, because we gonna equip you with waveforms. Within 8 minutes, you have already the information inside you. And everything else is just waste of money, because you waste electricity and you don't gain an additional benefit while using it longer. Got that? Good. I show you how it looks like when such a waveform is created. I'm gonna have a little animation here, and you will see on this animation, this is a sine wave, and when it gets transformed into a triple sawtooth wave, this is how a frequency generator does it. It's just, well, it doesn't do it in a picture, but this is how it looks like. So you have a normal sine wave, and then, you know, it creates all these harmonics, and it creates this picture which looks like a sawtooth. This is actually what our devices are capable of producing internally, and then send it via the applicator to your body. This is the science behind it. And again, you know, this is not even disclosed information. So you could develop a system like this. You know, I wonder since 30 years why never a company did it, and I can tell you why. Because it's very, very, very tough engineering. You know, and you cannot patent this, because this is a physical signal. This is common sense. You cannot patent common sense and common knowledge. And what do most of the companies do? They tell you, we have a patent signal. Well, what does it mean? It has no benefit. The only benefit is marketing. But you will even have a negative benefit, because when you are exposed to I call them GMO signals, to a genetically modified signal, then you don't get the natural and reasonable vibrations anymore. And that will not create positive effects for you. So this is the truth about these waveforms. The next thing is, it's about how the electromagnetic field is gonna apply to you. We do this through so-called, they are in every applicator. You have built-in coils. Maybe you heard about Tesla coils. This is also what's inside your induction stove. It's a Tesla coil. And from physics we know if we run current through a conductor, we always create a magnetic field around it. This is just, again, science. This is physics. This is applied physics. And in order to create a certain induction, induction is the key, not the intensity. Induction is the key. There's a big difference between intensity and induction. You can apply something with high intensity. If you don't create an inductive force, an immediate force, the intensity will not do anything. And that's why making a marketing with intensities doesn't mean anything. It's the induction. And I show you, because I have two pictures. The first one you're gonna find in all of these devices which you can find on the market. They always use mesh wire. And the coils of these mesh wire coils, they look like this. It's plastic. And it's insulated. And they, as a conductor, they don't even use copper, they use cheap iron. This is how they look like, you know, like the cables of your speakers. This is what they use to create an electromagnetic field. Well, of course, it's very cheap to manufacture this. Costs almost nothing. You know, this is what we use in our systems. Solid copper coils, uninsulated, 100% pure copper, with a very, very thick diameter, very, very narrowly rounded here, and not insulated. So this is the way to create a pure electromagnetic field, and this is the way how you create induction. In other words, we don't need a lot of intensity to create sufficient induction, because we don't do this with intensity, because intensity also means safety issues. If you're exposed to a too high intensity electromagnetic field, then it's not good for you anymore. But we don't have to do this, because we use this technology, which is very expensive, but you have a very good conductor, the best in the world. There's only one better, which is silver. Silver would have a better conductive properties than copper, but silver is a little bit too expensive, and it's also a little bit heavier still than copper, so that would make the whole system not enjoyable anymore when it comes to handling. But those coils are really expensive, but they provide you with the correct way of receiving pulse electromagnetic fields for health benefits. And this is how it looks like. And then frequency. We have a couple studies out, very good basic science. Best science was done by Ross Eddy and Borwin. Eddy and Borwin, you can find it, you know. They did a lot of studies exposing human tissue, cellular tissue, with all kinds of electromagnetic fields, with all kinds of frequency ranges and intensity ranges. And they figured out that the best response of the tissue appeared with frequencies between 0.5 and 30 hertz. So actually very low frequencies. And the triple sawtooth, the waveform we use, produces these frequencies all together in a very short period of time, which relates to the effect that we don't need a lot of time on the system, on the application, 8 to max 24 minutes, in order to get all the frequencies in which your body cells are capable of resonating with. And that's the key. And then you create resonance. You want to know, you want to see how a resonance looks like? I have a great video for you to share. This is a 2-minute video. It was done in a Japanese lab. Do you know what a metronome is? Okay. So what you're going to see now, we have about, I don't know how many, I think 32 metronomes here on a surface, and they are randomly started. And over the course of the 2 minutes, something really astonishing happens, because they align to each other with its frequency. And they actually follow the frequency to the first metronome who was started manually. And watch this, it's great, because this is, what I want you to project in your mind is, the first metronome which was touched is the PEMF unit. And the other ones, which are randomly started and vibrating in all kinds of frequencies, those are your body cells. And the idea is, when we apply a certain frequency, we would like to that the body cells resonate with these frequencies. So they take over the tune and they utilize the same frequency. And this is quite impressively proven by this video. So watch it. This is the PEMF unit, was touched first. And now they're gonna just randomly ignite all of the others. There is no system, you can see. So now you see 4, 8, 32. 32 metronomes completely off sync. And now it takes about 2 minutes. Watch what happens. This is the carrier frequency here. And you will figure out that sooner or later, all of these other metronomes, they tune into that frequency, take it over, and stick with it. They don't go off sync anymore. What happens with them? They keep going. Oh, yes. So, very powerful. Imagine, you are, stop this. Think about this. You expose your body to a pulsed electromagnetic field application for 8 minutes. And then you turn off the system, you stand up and you go to work. It's still going. 4 to 6 hours. This effect lasts. So actually, you benefit from this application over a time period for 4 to 6 hours by just applying it for 8 minutes. That's powerful. You know? And that's the power of resonance, and that's the power of energy transfer. And this is what we have to understand. That's why I'm a strong believer that energy medicine is the medicine of the future, because it's so powerful and it changes situations, entire situations. It changes environments. So I put here, going back, I put here a word, holistic. Holistic means everything. So remember what I said at the beginning of my little speech here, that PEMF is not designed to treat a certain disease. It's not, because it is actually designed to treat your entire body. And that's why I use the word holistic here, because you can treat your entire body, and wherever a problem is, the body starts fixing it, right? Because we have these self-healing capacities. We have it. But sometimes we don't have the tools to utilize them. Well, this is the holistic tool towards it. Almost done.
Did you say that your company is the only one with this feature?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not one in the world. Not one in the world. You know? And let's just have a little bit before we finish talk about which natural frequencies are occurring in our environment. Well, maybe you heard about the Schumann resonance. Did you ever hear about that? Schumann waves, Schumann resonance. You know, the Schumann resonance, the Schumann wave is a quite stable frequency. It's exactly 7.83 hertz. This was discovered by the German scientists Schumann. That's why it's called Schumann resonance. You know, and this 7.83 hertz is the carrier frequency in the so-called ionosphere. So what is the ionosphere? The ionosphere is the space between the surface of our planet and the exit to the stratosphere. It's where the astronauts are, where you cannot breathe anymore, where there's no gravity anymore. It's actually not, we cannot survive there anymore. And the space between the surface of the Earth and the exit to the stratosphere, it's this space here, this is called the ionosphere. And within this ionosphere, we have a very stable frequency vibrating. It's the Schumann resonance. By the way, where is it coming from? It's coming from the weather and from the lightning strikes. That creates this frequency. And isn't it amazing that this frequency is stable? 7.83 hertz. It's unbelievable. You know? So this is an indicator for you probably to believe in the fact that our entire ecosystem works together, aligns to each other in a very, very narrow range. We talk about two values behind the comma. 7.83 hertz, very stable. Sometimes this Schumann resonance goes off sync, mainly because of strong weather phenomena, which we know as spherics. those, do they have an impact on us? Those spherics? Some people do. You know, they get migraines when there is a quick weather change. You know, this is the reason, because the frequency is not aligned anymore. And then our functionality starts creating disturbances. And some people experience that more, some people experience it less. Depends on their personal health state. It depends, some are even just prone to it, genetically, you know, and they cannot control it via their epigenetic. But this is the reason why sometimes we have these headaches and all that stuff. It has to do with frequencies. And by the way, the Earth magnetic field, it was a long time a mystery whether the Earth magnetic field has its own carrier frequency, until again a German guy, Klaus Bionic, he's a mathematic professor. He calculated, he published a book for it's called The Lattice Structure of the Earth Magnetic Field. It's even available in English, and it's available free on the internet. If you are into science and if you would like to know something about it, this is a book you have to read. If you are a layperson, don't read it because you won't understand the word. Really cool stuff. But he figured one thing out. The Earth magnetic field has its own carrier frequency. And he calculated it. It's between 11.75 and 11.79 hertz. Very narrow range. Why it's different? Because it differs a little bit from the magnetic poles towards the equator, but only marginally. And also our brain waves. Our brain waves within frequencies between 0.1 and 30 hertz. Alpha, beta, delta, gamma. Just give me a couple more minutes. Sorry. I need to finish that. I came all the way from Switzerland. Please give me this additional time. Thank you. Almost done. So, if you look at all these frequencies, we can probably observe that most of the natural frequencies are within a range between 0 and 30 hertz. Everything above is not natural anymore. For example, the 50 hertz or the 60 hertz we get from the wall, from the current. It's above natural. Then, not speaking about of our mobile phones, between 800 and 1000 megahertz is the carrier frequency. You know what 1 megahertz means? A lot. 1 million hertz. 800, your smartphone vibrates between 800 and 1000 million vibrations per second. It's not natural anymore. We have the satellites, we have the microwaves, all these kind of artificial vibrations. You can sit in a microwave for 2 hours, it will not get pain-free. Because you are exposed to a pulsed electromagnetic field, but in a totally different frequency and intensity range. So it will eventually more harm you than you benefit from it. Because now you know what properties you have to introduce to the body in order to create a health beneficial effect with PEMF. Waveform, frequency, intensity, resonance, coherence. So, and what does it do to our bodies? Just quickly. This is a human cell. A human cell, by the way, is always positively charged outside and negatively charged inside. And every cell has a membrane potential, which can nowadays be measured. A healthy cell inside minus 70 millivolt. A professional athlete cell minus 100 millivolt. The heart cell potential minus 120 millivolt. So the heart cell has such a high membrane potential, it just runs 24/7 on the highest capability. And by the way, a cancer cell always equal below minus 35 millivolt. So if the energy of the membrane potential reaches a critical value, it will eventually turn into a malignant cell, into cancer. If it's not the case, it will not. So the idea of energy medicine is not to treat with chemicals. The idea of energy medicine, of pulsed electromagnetic field, is to keep the membrane potential of each of your 70 to 100 trillion cells on the highest possible value, because then it will always do its job. It will always, those are these mitochondria. They change energy into ATP. They change the fuel, what you eat, what you drink, and what you apply to the cell into energy, which is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. You know, this is what keeps us going. And this is what makes us looking old and dying early if we don't treat it the way it should be treated. And the recipe for a healthy, nice life, and hopefully for not becoming ill when you age, is treat your cell in the best possible way. Apply good food, good diet, liquid and solid, exercise. I know it needs self-discipline, but there is no way around. Forget about this quick fix, and it's all for nothing. It has no value. You cannot cheat your body. It's impossible. You can, but it will show off. You know, you can cover up, but you can never cheat and win something with it. And PEMF is such a powerful tool, which is so easy to apply, which is so safe, and which has a holistic impact on your entire body and on your entire health. I know nothing better than PEMF nowadays, what's available for your holistic health and for keeping you healthy, or if you have already a disease or suffering from something chronic, to get you back on track. And with this, I would like to close my lecture, and thank you for your attention. Thank you so much.